Hi, my name is Erica Lopez, and I will be presenting life stages in middle and late childhood. So let's start this. What I'll be covering during this is the physical development, physical education activities, cognitive development, social emotional development, and spiritual moral development of a child who is in middle and late childhood. The physical development is the characteristics of a child. These characteristics are influenced by the dominant genes. They may inherit from either mom or dad. This includes height, weight, eye color, hair color, not skin color though. Skin color is something that is genetic. During the physical development, children stop growing rapidly. So during early childhood and infancy, a child grows very rapidly to the point where it's hard to keep track, so to speak. They develop fine motor skills, but during this time of their development, they are strengthening these fine motor skills that they have acquired from earlier times. So this could be cutting along lines. This could just be cutting in general, though. Gluing, writing, tying, playing outside. So that would include like kicking a ball, throwing a ball, running, balancing, jumping, multitasking. Things like this are stuff that they're going to start strengthening as they grow up The physical education of a middle childhood. This includes sportsmanship, team building, and self confidence. Physical education is important for a child's physical growth as it combines all the skills they have just learned through early childhood and it combines it together, such as balance while running, kicking a ball at the same time. Even running and catching a ball is important for a child to master. These activities that they could be doing at this age are more sports games. It's like kickball, soccer, football, softball, baseball, volleyball, basketball. The list goes on. These are games that these children can be playing. Even more juvenile games such as Duck Duck Goose or even tag, hide and go seek, stuff like this are games that are really good for their physical education because it not only keeps them active and engaged, but it also teaches them, team building, sportsmanship. It makes them have that confidence to go on in life, and it keeps them, it keeps it fun and it keeps them going. And it helps them burn off some of that energy that they have pent up from the day. Cognitive development. So according to Paget, I believe that's how it's pronounced, children will take on an active role in the learning process. They make observations, they come to conclusions, they perform like experiments in the world around them. They're little scientists at this age because they want to test the boundaries. They want to see what they can do. They want to see what they can get into, how much trouble they can get into, what is good, what is bad, things like that. So middle and late childhood falls under the concrete operational stage, and this is from the ages 7 to 11 years old. Children begin to apply logic during this stage, and they start to understand the concept of a conversation, such as verbal instructions. So, what that means is I can have a student pour water from a white, short beaker into a tall, narrow glass beaker, and I can ask them which one has more water, the wide beaker or the tall beaker, and they would understand that both beakers had the same amount of water because they just poured that water from the short beaker into the tall beaker, and if they were to pour it back into the short beaker, it would have the same amount of water they began with. Um, if you were to do this with a child who was 5 years old, they wouldn't understand that very much. They would see the tall one and be like, that one has more water because it's taller. Things like that. During this stage of development, the child is also learning to focus on more than one part of the problem. So they're able to see multiple things going on at once. And it's very helpful for them because now they can problem solve. Um, Erik Erikson's stages of development. So, according to Erickson's stages of development, personality develops in a predetermined order. During each stage of development, the outcome can result in a positive or negative outcome for the personality development. So, Erik Erikson begins this on stage one, which is trust versus mistrust, and this is began in infancy. Uh, when an infant is given what they needed to survive, they develop a sense of trust. But when they have a sense of neglection in their life, that's when they start gaining some mistrust in their life. And that's basically what Erikson is trying to say during each stage of development. So the middle and late childhood falls under the industry versus the inferior stage of development. And this is when they feel the need to win the approval of the adults around them, their peers, their parents, just whoever they can find approval from. This is when they want to start taking pride in their accomplishments because, again, they're trying to win that approval from not only us, but their peers. And it's important to build up that confidence and build up that sense of pride because this is something that will carry on throughout their life and it'll keep them going. Success in this stage will lead to competence. This is a little quote. Chance and accommodation peculiar to sensomotor intelligence plays the same role as scientific discovery. It is only useful to the genius and its revelations remain meaningless to the unskilled. This is from Jean Paget. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And these are just some photos of the two philosophers. Not philosophers, psychologists. Social and emotional development. So during this time in life, children start to relate to the people they hang around with the most, their peers. This is when they start to get a sense of independence from their parents and they're starting to think about the future and who they are. So they're starting to become their own person. Their personality is starting to shine through. They're starting to find their sense of style. They're starting to find things about them that they like about themselves. And they're starting to become someone who they want to be and not just a reflection of their parents or who their parents want them to be or what they want to look like. Their emotional development part of this is when a child is starting to develop their emotions and they're trying to express these emotions, which aren't bad. They just need to learn how to properly express this because it can come across wrong and they can get very angry with somebody and then explode, and then instead of just breathing and coming to terms with it, they start to just explode and go to worst case scenario when they can just take a breath, step away, come back, and when they're ready to talk about it, talk about it. So this is stuff that children tend not to do because this is something they're not used to feeling because it's a new emotion for them. Freud suggests that children are developing their personality through a series of stages. So, spiritual and moral development. Um, there are different theories of moral development. I will focus on Kohlberg's theory, which states that there are three main stages of moral development, and each stage has two substages. People move through these stages in a certain order, and as we grow older, that's when we get every stage. And what's interesting about Kohlberg's theory is that he had built this theory off of Erik Erikson, off of Paget's theory of moral development. And I think it's very interesting for that because in Paget's theory, as we'll see later on in this presentation, he believed it was common for everyone to hit each stage. So Kohlberg's theory of moral development has three stages, which is the pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. The first stage of moral development lasts until about 9 years old. Children don't have a sense of moral code yet, and they live by the standards that are set by the adults in their lives. So, mom, dad, auntie, uncle, cousin, teachers, whoever's in their life, these are the people who are setting the standards for that child. These standards are set by consequences for following and breaking the rules that are set in place. The conventional morality is the second stage of the moral development theory. During this stage, the individual is characterized by acceptance and social rules. what is right and what is wrong. So, this is when we begin to internalize and shape our moral standards and we adjust into our adult roles. We become who we are, we believe what we believe, and this is when we start to become our own selves. Post conventional morality is the third and final stage, in which Kohlberg states that this is as far as most people have gone. It's very rare to get to this last stage. Um, this is when an individual's understanding of a universal ethics principle are characterized. So, this is when, Haggett believed everybody hit this stage. It was achievable and it was common to everybody. Or Kohlberg was like, no, this is not achievable for everybody and it's rare for anybody to get here. So during middle and late childhood, we fall into the first stage still of the Kohlberg theory. And once the child turns 9 years old, they are now into the second stage and they stay in that stage for the rest of their life, essentially, according to Kohlberg's moral development theory. So, in conclusion, during the middle and late childhood, it can be argued that the children become themselves. They're finding their own sense of style, they figure out what's best for them, they're figuring out their place in the world. Though they cannot accomplish this by themselves, with guidance and patience, they can navigate through the world with confidence. And that's something that they need because the world is already a scary place. So if they have the proper guidance, it's something that they can walk through with ease. And here are my references. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.